Everywhere you look, the pace of life keeps accelerating. Well, it does feel like that for me anyway. Answers are instant, reactions are immediate, and patience feels like an old-fashioned skill. We want to know right now, what's wrong with my plant? How do I fix the soil? And why hasn't this flowered yet? But some people are here to remind us that the world doesn't work that way. Wisdom takes time, and that sometimes the best things you can do is to simply pay attention. This is the Sentimental Gardener podcast, and I'm your host, Cass Dowding. In our podcast, we explore what it means to be human as told through our love of plants and gardens and the memories attached to them. Today's guest is Attila Horgosi, known to most as Attila The Horticulturist, a Canberra-based gardener, educator and advocate for sustainable horticulture. For nearly 30 years, he's tended his property in Bywong, New South Wales. It's a living experiment in patience, curiosity and care. But it's not just how he gardens, it's how he lives that's inspiring. Attila grew up as the son of immigrants who came to Australia in search of possibility. From there, he learned that the best kind of knowledge doesn't come from rushing to answers, but it's from slowing down and letting the world reveal itself in its own time. In our conversation, we cover how his family's migration shaped his philosophy of observation and humility, his career journey from bush regenerator to native plant enthusiast all the way to gardening alongside his clients, why his home garden is affectionately called a plant zoo, and why his clients are his greatest teachers. If you listen all the way to the end, you'll also get the best answer I've ever heard of how someone talks about a plant or a flower that best describes them. It's just the best. So, a warm welcome today to my guest on this Sentimental Gardener podcast, Attila Horgosi. So today I am here with Attila the Horticulturist at his house recording in Bywong in New South Wales. So Attila, thank you so much for being my guest today on the Sentimental Gardener.
As always, thanks for having me.
I think we met through Instagram 4 months ago before I started the actual podcast and putting out episodes. Yep. And I put out a call for guests and to see, if anyone would be interested. And you were someone who said, yeah, I can talk about plants.
Yep, I could talk.
So that was so awesome. And then from there, I followed you on Instagram, and then I found out we have a mutual gardening friend in Annie Winters.
Yep.
And so I went for a walk around her garden once, and she was sharing with me that she quite often texts you for all her gardening questions. And yep, you're quite a source of knowledge. So I'm really excited to find out more about your story and about how you came to be doing what you're doing today. So yeah, welcome.
Cool, thank you.
So I always love to start these podcasts back in the earliest memories of your garden, and you're probably familiar with this question because you've told me you've listened to all the other episodes. So what are your earliest memories of being in a garden or a green space?
Well, the finer details are a bit fuzzy because obviously they're a long time ago. So they'd be probably, I would have been probably getting close to 5, I would say would be my memory. And that's definitely on the balcony in Sydney, and it was full of pots growing all sorts of plants that a freshly off the plane immigrant would be growing. So peas, beans, tomatoes, compost pit in the back corner. So this is 47 years ago. So the balcony was full. And I just remember playing in those pots with my Matchbox cars, and it was like a little jungle. So Mum had created a jungle on this small balcony. So there were African violets, and there were, which is, I don't know, it was a really weird thing. Mum loved African violets, but all vegetables. So, and like things like fresh peas. So it was always fresh peas, tomatoes, is what I mostly remember her growing, just because they were taller than me. So she probably grew other things as well, like other herbs and other things that they used, probably spring onions and those sort of things. But I mainly remember the tall beans and beans, peas and tomatoes were the main things, because you just go out and you just pick a pea off or she'd pick off. So that's my earliest memory. And so we left the unit when I was about 11 because Mum was like, okay, like I've maxed out the balcony, so it's tapped out, so we need a house now. So then Mum went wild. Like the whole garden became a mixed garden of flowers, vegetables, fruit trees, just everything that she could grow. This was in Sydney, so quite a mild, very easy climate to grow things in. So everything just went so then we got chooks, then we got pigeons as well. And the entire backyard was all built up, all composted. Oh, they did a kiwi fruit, macadamia, every citrus you can imagine. We tried some like peaches, but it was just too warm for them. And also the other thing too is, which is really interesting because we never had cut flowers in the house, but Mum grew so many cut flowers to take everywhere she went. So because it's not so much a Hungarian tradition, but it's very much a German tradition, and our family has a lot of German heritage as well. So wherever you went anywhere, you took a bouquet, you took a bunch of flowers. So as I said, I don't think we even owned a vase, but everywhere Mum would grow, she would grow flowers for cut flowers.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, things like Gomfrina was one of her favourites because it was just, and then when she found straw flowers, so the paper daisies, she just loved them because they just lasted forever. Like she'd just go, these are the best. And so, yeah, so they're the main ones. And then impatiens and pansies and petunias and all of those standard cottage garden plants that she would grow. So, and that was basically, I did that and we lived right next to the bush. So we had a bush reserve. And then I started learning about, because one of Dad's friends worked for National Parks and Wildlife Service. So then I started to learn about invasive species or plants that were taking over and why they were taking over and all the rest of it. And that's where I started bush regeneration. And so I started with the local group and then I went to TAFE, learnt that, and then I went, wow, okay, and then got really deep into like the native plants, but then also really deep into the observation, because everything with weeds is all about observing and just taking your time with them. So because a weed tells you a story. Craig Castry says that really well as well. And so that's over 35 years ago. It's just observing, sitting down. I would sit in the bush. I would go rock climbing in the bush. We would go bike riding, walking, doing whatever, but it was all just being completely immersed in it and observing it day in, day out, through all the different weather, through the different seasons, was just completely observing what was happening and then the little things you could do to change and stop the weeds from being a nuisance and all the rest of it. And then I was like, okay, I can't get a job in bush regeneration. So I was like, okay, I'll go and start working in a wholesale nursery. So that was an eye-opener because that was back in the day where it was complete chemical warfare. Like it was just the stuff that we were using. A lot of it's banned now.
Okay.
So you can't use it anymore. When you're needing to get blood tests to check that your blood count was good, you know that this stuff was not good for you.
Oh, that was part of the work.
Yeah, well, I was going.
Safety.
Getting so then I started TAFE the same time as one of the supervisors there as well, and it all changed to IPM, so integrated pest management. So all of a sudden, because some of the chemicals we were using were really expensive as well. So if we could reduce the use of them, one, we're saving money, two, we're saving ourselves, and we're getting a better outcome. So that all started to change. So that's in the early 90s. So that all started to change. And today it's so very different to how we produce plants and what chemicals we're putting on. Like it was like full on, like it was just like, wow. And then so from there, so okay, I can't keep doing this. Then I went and worked in retail nurseries. But at the same time, I was volunteering in large gardens through Sydney, just trying to get the experience of, because it's all good and well to be in a retail nursery, but I wanted to know how the plants were growing. Like, because we had our little garden, but I also wanted to know how things were out in the real world, I suppose.
Okay.
So how plants were going to grow in a large garden setting. And that's what I did. So when I moved to Canberra, I did more retail, and then I went and worked for commercially on all the defence sites.
Oh, wow.
So was head of horticulture there, which was really, really interesting because it's very diverse as well, because you've got Duntroon, which has the heritage trees on it and heritage houses on it. So because it was a Campbell property, so it's got really old trees on it. Like it's got a gigantic bunya pine.
How old are we talking?
Well, for the trees, for the planted trees, well over 100 years old. So from the 1800s. So the Campbells were merchants, so they used to share seeds around the Canberra region. So there'll be bunya pines down in Lanyon because they used to collect seed and bring seed and all the different conifers and things like that. So so you'll see different homesteads will have the same trees.
Oh, cool.
And particularly a lot of conifers because they travelled really easy because of the seeds. So you can collect the seeds and then they germinate easy and then you can transfer them on and share them on and things like that. So that was absolutely incredible. Like that's just working with those trees and in that environment. And then I knew, I definitely don't want to be in the public service. I definitely can't work in there because it's just like regulation just drove me nuts. Wow. So what I did was I went and worked for the government nursery for 4 years. The thing that the government nursery did, what I found is they did training so well.
Okay.
So they actually, because they had the time, because you weren't there to make a profit like a business has to. Like you've got to make money. Whereas in the government, because once you've done your apprenticeship, you're out. Like that's it. You do your 4-year apprenticeship, you're off out into the wild, you let go, umbilical cords cut and away you go. And it was brilliant because you could spend so much time training and like you could actually get them in and you could let them fail and try things and do things because it was just like, it was such a great environment and because the knowledge that was there was incredible. Like,
so were you teaching at this point?
Well, yeah. I had apprentices.
Yeah.
So you had first, second, third, and fourth year. Well, see, by the time you got a 4th year apprentice, they're already the ones training as well. So they're already, it's mainly the first years that you've really got to you've got to hold their hand. Then the second year, and then the third year, and then hopefully you've chosen the correct person that wants to be there, because that's everything. Like if you don't want to be there, you're bringing everybody else down, and you're bringing yourself down. Go and do something that you really want to do, like because don't stick out something if you don't enjoy it. And then from there, I was just like, okay, I can't do a toolbox talk every single morning. Like I can't do this anymore. Like it's just let's get on and just let's do it. And so obviously then I had to leave, and then I did landscaping and garden maintenance, and so that was absolutely brilliant. Yeah, with Vicky, Easy Care Landscapes, which was absolutely amazing. Like the crew that we had there, that's where I learned, all about running a business. I love that. I love learning all about the business, how to run it, what you need to do, how much you need to charge, all those things. So that was a really interesting thing. I still chat with Vicky to this day.
Oh, so good.
She's in the local land care group, so she co-opted me to be in the local land care group as well because she's like, we need younger people. And I said, I'm not young, I'm 52. She says, yeah, but we're all in our 70s. Good point. So off I toddled there and do that as well with her, and she's just so brilliant, so much energy, and she taught me how to run a business.
That's so good. It sounds like listening to all these little steps along the way in your career is that it's not just for you plants, it's you've got experience with people and the processes as well. And bringing all that together is such, you've got a wealth of knowledge, not just with the plants, but with the way the whole system works. You've had government and public and then in private gardens. So, that's so incredible. Can I jump back though? Because I want to hear more about your mum and dad and immigrating from, did you say it was Hungary?
So technically they came from Yugoslavia via Vienna.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so in 1966.
And how old were you when that happened?
I wasn't born.
Oh, you weren't born? So
no, neither was my brother. So he's 6 years older than me.
Yeah.
So neither of us, we were both born here.
Yeah.
So they came out, which is, perfect. They're 26-year-old, so they're both highly skilled. They're like, oh my God, Australia, 1966, we need young couples who are going to breed who come with skills. So that's exactly what we need. And so Dad's which I found out later, Dad's very unique from an immigrant's perspective because as Europeans, they're multilingual. They're not bilingual, they're multilingual. Mum could speak. So she could speak some Russian, Hungarian, Serbian, which was Yugoslavian there, and German.
Wow.
So, so there's 4 languages.
Yeah.
Same with, Dad was he was Yugoslav, Hungarian and German.
Wow.
And then because Dad went to work in Vienna, and so Dad's philosophy is that you go to a country, you learn their language, you don't worry about any other language, but you learn their language.
Okay.
And that's, so as soon as he came to Australia, he's like, okay, I'm going to learn English as quickly as I possibly can, because I don't want to be on the factory floor for the rest of my life.
Okay.
So the quicker I learn English, the quicker I can be a foreman. So obviously Mum she was working, but then once I came along, that was it. So then she was at home doing all the veggies, the cooking, and all of the rest of it.
And was that having gardening or plants, was that part of their life before they came to Australia?
Yeah. So within our family, we've got farmers.
Okay.
But see, where they grew up is an area called Vojvodina. So the villages there, you have your village, really tight, really, really normally on the rocks, on the worst possible ground.
Oh, wow.
Because you're not going to waste agricultural land. You're not going to waste land where you can grow. So the only thing that they specifically grew was a pig to eat. So the pig was down the back, which got all the scraps. And obviously they had chickens. That's why all of our food is very slow cooked, because it's all old meat that you're eating. So they would have ox. Mm-hmm. They would eat ox, the dairy cow, the horses. So everything, but that was all at the end of its life. So the horses finished, the dairy cows finished milking, it's 10 years old. The horses, whatever, 25 years old. Then you'd chop it up, cook it in a goulash for 2 days and eat it. Same with the ox. Same with the chicken, So we used to do chicken, like we used to have our own chickens. And there was this sinewy 2 or 3 year old rooster, but you'd have to cook it for forever. And so just outside of town were the community gardens. So that's where that's where they would grow all their vegetables.
Okay, yeah. So it's not like where you have a big space out the back and you're growing all your own stuff.
No. It's all because it was a communist state. So no one actually owned anything. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
that's fascinating. And what did they say when they came to Australia? How did they find it? Were they happy to come over? Mum
was in shock. Basically, there was no food here.
Okay.
So there was no capsicums, there were no beans, there were no peas, all of those things. So friends who were here earlier, they were able to fly back and illegally bring back seeds. They would just, shove seeds from the homeland and they would bring it back. So we've actually still got seeds today that we grow that were brought back.
No way.
Yeah. So we've continued
the line.
Yeah. So we've got that. So those.
I love that.
Yeah.
I have a friend like that. Her dad immigrated to Australia maybe in the 50s from one of the Greek islands, but smuggled, because it was illegal, the tomatoes, beautiful big beefsteak tomatoes. The seeds were smuggled between the pages of the book, so the law goes. And they still grow them today, and she passed on the seeds to me. But it's really hard nowadays to bring seeds in, isn't it? It's not a thing.
But we don't have to anymore.
That's it,
we do not, so there are so many places now that you can just, it's wild what you can get now. So you can get all the Asian, you can get the subcontinental foods, everything from all the European vegetables and all the other. I mean, we grew up with only a handful of tomatoes being available. The amount of tomatoes available now is just phenomenal.
I didn't know that back then you couldn't get capsicum. It makes sense now that you've told me.
Yeah.
But I've because we just assume it's always been like
Yeah. Because in Melbourne, it had already started, because obviously Italians are Greek, where they moved to Sydney.
Right.
But my mum's sister was in Melbourne, so she didn't really want to be in Melbourne with her sister.
Okay.
Because she was 10 years older. That's a whole
other story.
Yeah. So they ended up, so Sydney didn't really have it yet, because Melbourne was, because you had the Italian and the Greek communities down there. So obviously they were already starting to import, the pickles, the gherkins, and they were starting the olives and things like that. So, because I was always the stinky meat kid, because I had the blue cheese and the olives and that and the salami. They're like, what on earth is this? It's just normal now. It's just
it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's completely no one would ever think it's same with all the cuisine that we have here. No one bats an eyelid. Oh, of all of it. Now European is so, it's so passé. It's not anything special anymore. It's just is.
Yeah.
Eggplant. It's just oh my God, what the hell is an eggplant? It's just normal. So the Australian government paid for them to come, but then they had to pay then they paid it back. I know Mum tells me the story, like it just took forever. Like it just seems like, wow, 4 days to fly. And it's the one and only time my mum's ever flown.
Oh, really?
Yep.
So she hasn't gone back afterwards?
No, she had no interest in it whatsoever. And Dad's he took us back in 2012.
Yeah.
So to show us where they grew up. So where Mum grew up and where Dad grew up. So, no, I think for Mum, because you can just, I'll try to imagine and she tells me more, but yeah, she just wants to keep that memory of what it was like.
Yep.
And it's really interesting because what she does with the memory of where she left, I do the same thing with gardens now.
No way.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
So if somebody sells their property, that's it. I don't never go back to that garden.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I am attached to that owner and that garden. So if they move to another property, great, we'll go to that garden because I've built up a connection with the owner of the property.
Okay.
So it takes a while.
Yep.
And you go through all the different seasons and the wet, the dry, and the different sun and the shades and all the rest of it. And as their kids grow and then or if they're retired. So I go through with them.
Wow.
So because every month I go to the same place on the same day around the same time. And so, you build up that connection with them and their garden and what's important to them and what plants are, and it's really interesting because that's what I mean here. I've got plants that come from customers that come from their mothers and these customers are in their 70s.
Oh, wow.
So, so there's carrying on these little, and then they tell me these stories. And so you've got this story of this little plant that comes from Wendy, who comes from her mother. And, it's just, wow. And there's just more and more like plants like that. And so, I never go back.
So would you say your garden is like a collection of all these memories, really? It's almost like you're the guardian of all these.
It's mind-boggling how many plants when I walk around, like I'm fortunate. They go, well, you've got more space, and they're suburban gardens, so they don't have any space. So certain plants just grow out of their space.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, okay, we need to garden this plant. We need to lift and we divide it.
Yeah.
We leave one little piece left in the garden and I end up with 1,000 pieces back home. Therefore, I get to experiment because I go, oh, well, let's see how hardy this is. I'll just put this here. I'll just dig a hole, plonk, there it is, give it a water, walk away. And then that's it because I've got a large garden and it's different to a suburban garden or it's different to other acreage gardens. My dad calls it, he goes, it's just a plant zoo, isn't it?
Oh, that is so good.
So, Dad goes, look at his plant zoo. Look at him torturing these poor plants. I said, no, they're not torturing. This is New Age zoo. This is like for genetics and other things.
Yeah.
So many plants. Like I've got so many, like the special plants. It's just insane because I'm a phlomis collector. So Jerusalem sage. So I went down and chatting with Eltham Garden Grub, and because he's got lots of.
I bought one from him recently.
Yeah, and so I've got 6 different phlomis that I hadn't had before, and so they're growing here. And he actually gave me some gladioli seed because he's a huge gladioli, and I've grown them, and I've got. And I messaged him and he said, and I told him, I think I've got Gladioli aureus and he lost his, but mine are still growing.
Oh.
And so for him, because I know he was talking about, I didn't hear the talk, but about sharing plants to make sure you've got that.
Yes. I heard the talk.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. And I think with the talk, it was at the Alpine Society of Victoria. I'm trying to think of the name as I go.
And it was all about South African bulbs.
Bulbs. And his talk was brilliant. And also the way he presented the information, because they were talking quite scientific and breeding, but just the way that, he shared was incredible. And the concept of sharing, I heard, was something that a previous president of that society, Otto Fauser, it was part of his philosophy of growing and sharing plants, because he figured if he had a plant or bulb that he loved and he shared it around enough, if it didn't survive in his garden, he could always go and get it from another friend or someone else he'd passed it on to, which is just, building in redundancy there. But I love that because, it's understanding that plants die, but also by sharing the love, you don't know who else you're inspiring with their own bulb collection. And it is just that spirit of gardening that I think a lot of gardeners have, isn't it? Like generosity and sharing And yeah, I love it.
Because that's what I was talking to a customer about earlier this week. And I said, there's a generation, because I'm old enough, that wherever mum went, there was always like a succulent leaf, an African violet leaf, you know, a slip of something like geraniums or pelargoniums, something really easy, or a division. So that was just normal, sharing seeds. It was all just always done. So wherever mum went, boom, you shared instantly. And so I watched that. So I watched her. The windowsill was full of leaves, you know, growing. Even today we've got like a bit of bok choy that we've got in a little bowl there. We're doing a little experiment to see if we can resprout it. And yeah, so that's what my life was growing up. So I always saw cuttings and always saw seeds and always saw. And I notice now there's a generation where that's just gone. Like they don't know how to do cuttings, grow seeds. And then because there's, well, we like to say paralysis by analysis, they overthink it. They don't have a go because it's just like they need everything to be perfect.
Yeah.
But you don't. Like there's no such thing in gardening world.
Yeah.
You just need to go and have a go at it.
Yeah.
And as I said at the start, it's all about observation. So absolutely observing. Like you can read, I remember reading in a book, so I grew up in Sydney, so it was all citrus, it was all warm climate fruits, it was we could grow bananas. So we didn't have any apples, we didn't have cherries, we didn't have any of those things. And I was reading the books and I had to prune it and all the rest of it. And as I was saying before, like when I spoke to Dan about the one-page thing, it's just like, oh, okay, they fruit on this wood. Boom. As soon as I saw an apple tree, as soon as I observed it for a couple of years, I'm like, that's where the flowers come from. That's where the fruit comes from. Boom, done, easy.
So the one-page thing that you were talking about, there's another podcast with Dan the Plant Man, really good podcast that everyone should listen to. Attila talked about how all of the knowledge that we need for how to grow things, you reckon you could condense onto a one-pager. Is that right? Is that how you describe it?
Yeah. Yep.
And it's really cool because I just did an interview with Chloe Foster on The Rookie Gardener, and she's got this great big book, which I describe as like every question I've ever Googled about gardening, she answered, which is brilliant because she teaches hort at TAFE. And then someone like you comes along and you're like, I can condense it down to a one-pager. And I love that two things can be true at once because you got to start somewhere, don't you?
Yep.
But then that can lead to the rabbit warren of like, well, my climate might be this, so I might need this type of information. But I love that you can simplify it enough which reduces overwhelm in the beginning, like what you're describing. Yeah.
And the epiphany came from me is actually from my customers.
Oh.
And because I was book taught, so I was taught at TAFE.
Yeah.
Obviously, I watched mum and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But I never watched mum because she's my mum. You don't listen to your mum. You don't like. She does. So what the hell does she know? Like, she knows absolutely everything. Same with dad.
But you don't listen as a kid.
No, definitely. You definitely don't. And it's just like, oh my God, they were just so brilliant. And then obviously mum said, wait till you have a child and, you know, and then all their words are in your brain. Like you just go, oh God, thank God I had mum and dad. But it's the amateur gardeners, it's the keen gardeners. And I go, oh my God, like why have you put that together? Like how is that going to work? Is that going to, and you go, oh my God, like it's brilliant. Like you go, and they're doing this and they're doing that because there's no preconceived ideas. They're just having a go and they're just doing it and you're just going and they're just watching and they're there, and especially if they're retired, they've got that bit more time and and that's where I learnt that patience is everything. Like you have to be patient in the garden world. So I have some very old customers and sadly her husband at 94 died 2 years ago. And so I went there about 6 years ago, I started there. So he was 90. We were still continually redoing the garden because they knew their time was coming to an end. Like they know, yep, our time is coming. But that doesn't matter. I love just watching things grow. I love tinkering in the garden. So they would be out there helping me in the garden, doing this and doing that, what they could do. Then they go off and have a nap and then they come back again, which I said at 90, you're still up and able. I was just like,
that's great.
But just the joy they got from watching things grow, knowing that they will never, ever, ever see it come to maturity, like not even close to. But it's just that joy of watching it grow, like seeing the change and just watching those little changes and getting really excited about small changes. That's what made me think, that's why I plant so many trees.
Right.
Like I couldn't care less if I don't ever see them mature, but I want someone else to see them mature.
Yeah.
And the fact that, that I've done that and that the joy of watching them grow. Like it's why we have children. It's why we would have had a lot more children, because it's just the hardship of it, but the joy of watching them grow and change. Like it's just, it blew my mind. Like I had no idea.
Same.
But watching anything grow. Like so anything living and just watching it grow and mature and change. And then for me, like plants are just incredible because they give me wood to heat the home. They give me food. They give me shade. They give me smells. They give me all these things, the sounds and all these different things.
Yeah.
Then the birds come and then they make me cry because they pull all the blossoms off. But then I go, but I'm here in their world and that's fine. Like that's, even though we go, God damn you, but it's okay. When the cockies are tip pruning something, that's what they're here for.
Yeah.
But that's what they do. They tip prune. They're often looking for a little grub that's growing, that's living in the tip of the tree. So they need to eat. So they take the tip of the tree off. They're sharpening their beak. They're doing all these things. The galahs are making hollows. Like there's all these, the wallabies are coming in, they're browsing. The kangaroos are jumping on stuff. The rabbits are coming and digging. So there's just endless sort of things, But, I get rats and mice, but because I've got snakes, for 6 months of the year, I don't have rats and mice because they're all eaten by the snake. At this time of year as well, the lizards come out, so I no longer have snails or slugs to worry about. So having that environment for all of these things that we creepy crawlies or whatever they are, you've got to I take the good with the bad, because it just is.
Yeah.
But having enough time, years to just observe and watch what they do, and just stepping back and letting it do what it wants to do.
And I suppose that's the gift of time, because I've heard a few times now you say that you're so old, but you're mid-50s and, compared to when we were teenagers or 20s, our bodies as we get older, we feel old. But what I'm hearing is that the gift of time means that you've done enough laps around the sun now that you've seen patterns and there's almost a predictability about how thing works. But also nature has shown you like your place in time, like you're a part of such a bigger thing. And what a gift. Yeah. So beautiful.
I know my brother, he asked me, because we share the farm together, so my family and him, because it's 12 acres, so it's more than big enough. And, we talk about it, and like you said, like, can you put a monetary value on the farm now? And I said, in the early days we did. Today I can't. Like he said, would you, and it was funny because there was a story came up like a couple of years ago in Western Sydney. There was a family there and he's like, I'm not moving. And it was all surrounded by new subdivision and they're offering him like $60 million. He goes, but this is my home. And it's like, literally like I'm living the version of the castle. Like it's just, this is our place. You can see it's full of crap. It's got my wife's craft in it. It is a home. It's a living, breathing thing now. Like this is our place. Like if I can't live here anymore because I'm incapacitated or something, I'll leave, and hopefully my daughter will stay here and keep it on, because it's just, there's no money that anyone can offer me. Like it's just impossible. Like there's no figure. It's just all the blood, sweat and tears and just that connection that you get, and it's like it's so one of those things you can't really explain, but you just feel it.
Because the exchange for you is more than money. So the land for you is not an exchange of monetary value. It's a give and take, isn't it? Between, like you said, you plant a tree, but the tree can give you back warmth. And those essential needs that we have to like keep us alive. And that's what I'm hearing is that, the exchange for you is more than monetary value.
I mean, my dream would be when I died, would be to just be put down in the paddock and let the ravens pick my eyes out and just take me away like they do with birds of prey. Like I just, because the amount of animals that I have buried on the farm, like it's phenomenal. Like it's just they're putting back into the earth what they, like I love, that's the cycle.
It is, yeah.
Like, and that's what I just go, God, I'd love. Like for me, I go, just put me there. I'm just another body. I'm just blood and bone and just, there it is. Let me get eaten. Let the ants finish me off, collect up my bones and then put them somewhere and away we go. like it's fed a whole heap of other things. So
I wonder if that was probably quite normal, like you said, in other cultures than our modern day Australia, when you're in that tight community and a tight village type of thing, isn't it? Because everything's shared, and then you see death, and like we're going really deep here, I suppose. But we just don't see that, do we? Because when you're saying blood and bone, what pops up into my mind is, I go to the hardware store and I buy a container of blood and bone, but blood and bone was essentially all those little bits chopped up, wasn't it? And compost bags, well, that's the compost that, you go down the aisle and you got to pick see which one is the right bag for you. Even chook pellets, I'm just thinking nowadays I get my chook pellets from, again, the hardware store. But you come from a time and I suppose culture where that was not the way to go to a shop and get all that stuff.
Well, the shops didn't exist.
Yeah.
They didn't exist. And so Dad and Mum have put that in us that, yes, we have shops now and we don't cook everything. We don't do everything ourselves. We don't have a cow. Just like Mum and Dad, they had a baker. So they went to the bakery. When the pig was ready for slaughter, they called the butcher in. So he came in and then all the family came together. The butcher came because you need the tools, to hang the pig up, to gut it, do all the rest of it. But then everyone came together. So that was the autumn job. So after everything was harvested, the pig was done at the end of autumn. Then that was all just cut up, sausages, prosciutto, all the rest of it. That was all done, put in the cellar because it's cold in Europe. So boom, go down in the hole, and that was it. And that was basically their meat for the entire year. So that was the sort of stuff. And then the pumpkin would go down there, the potato would go down there. So everything would then go in the cellar. And then obviously there's all the preserving, and then there's the fermenting and all the rest of it. So my pantry's full of like tomato sauce and dried fruit and all the rest of it. Mum goes, "How did you learn to do that?" Because I just watched you. She goes, "You do it so fast." I said, "Yeah, well, I don't muck around like you do, making it all pretty. I just throw it in the pergola jars and I'm done."
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be pretty.
Yeah.
Mum, because it comes out, we make an apple pie or something. No one's going to see the apple that it was neatly stacked in a jar when it gets poured into the apple pie or apple crumble, whatever. It doesn't matter. It just it just goes and it just gets done. So I don't have time for that. I need to just get it done fast. So and she's like, "Wow, you learned it." I said, yeah. That's because I just watched you. And that's the sort of thing. So we were always, we just fixed everything. Like we just did everything. We fixed it. We had to do it and that's just what you did. And that for me, we know all of and that's what I don't want to get too much off a tangent, but I sometimes think that, I'm blessed to live where I live. It's just bonkers. But being a little bit further apart, we have such great relationships with all of our neighbours. We know everyone on our entire street. Some we have very close relationships with, some we just wave to. And that's fine because that's what it's going to be like. It's like Dad growing up in his little village. Some people you liked, some people you didn't, some people you had little Barneys with or whatever. But it was all sorted out. There was nothing it was all sorted within the village. Everything was done. And that's the same here. So it's just a wonderful way. It's just, for us, it's such a wonderful way to live. And how do we capture that way with plants and gardens and everything else with people? Because we share so much stuff. Because I produce more than I can eat.
Right. So what do you do with it then?
We just call the neighbours, say, "Come pick raspberries."
So good.
Do you want some apples? Do you want this? Do you want that? We've got too much of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's all about that. It's all about that sharing, and then they come and they can come and pick, and we'll all go pick together and stuff like that. So
it sounds like one of your ways that you do life and love doing life is alongside and with people. And I understand that that's part of your philosophy for your own business, going into people's gardens. Is that still the thing that you work for people who are out in the garden with you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. They don't have to be right next to me, obviously.
No.
But some of them will just clean up.
Okay.
So they'll just do the cleaning up. I'm going with two of my customers. We're going away end of October. We're doing a little road trip to go and visit open gardens.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So my daughter and wife, so they're both very crafty. One of my customers, Steph, is incredibly crafty. So they'll go and spend 3 hours with Steph, So they've become friends. So it's trying to, what you do with business. So yes, it's a business and I still have to charge for my time and all the rest of it. but I make a much closer connection so that it's not just business, it's actually a personal relationship as well. And we get to know each other, they get to know my family. Yeah, like I've always worried about that, but it's been fine. But I still don't work for anybody on the street. Sorry, I do my time for free. Are they coffee and cake? That's fine. But I won't work for money on our street with the neighbours. Okay. I'll come and work for free, no problem. Yeah. You need this tree done, that. Okay. No problem, off I go. Because I find that that's a little bit too close to home, but my customers are a little bit, they're just far enough away, but we have a very close relationship. So, which is what I really like. And you build that up. Some of my customers I've known for 18 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've done the same garden for 18 years?
No, one of them they've moved. Some I've done for the same garden for 18 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I really, really enjoy that, getting that connection and getting that and getting into their garden, getting them their garden that they want, and then sharing my plants into their garden.
Oh, so there's this whole back and forth.
Yeah. So there's like all these little plants, and like, so then I see this particular hedge plant that I've got out here that pops up all over Canberra now because it's one of my favourite hedging plants. And so obviously it's growing now because, the nursery at Yarralumla Nursery, the nursery manager there, and then I planted it and then we promoted it, and then they keep growing it and we keep selling it, or I keep buying it and other people keep buying it because it's such a good plant. And it's so interesting, and I just love that little circle.
And I suppose living or being in the area that you're in for a long time and then working with people in their gardens in a similar area has to have that benefit because you know the climate better than, say, someone who has hired someone from interstate to design a garden. Like, have you ever had someone who your garden you're working in and they're like, oh, I was recommended to plant all these plants, and have you ever gone in and go, oh, that wasn't the right choice for this area?
Thankfully, no, because people who get designers are all Canberra-based designers. Okay. Commercial properties, I've seen it.
Right.
And it's been hilarious because you just go, oh, my God, they've planted Murray, Lily Pilly, and a whole bunch of stuff. They've just copy and pasted Melbourne or Sydney.
Yes, yeah.
And they planted it in March. You'll go, well, let's see how this looks in June. And you go, oh, my God, the garden is all brown. Like, it's all just completely frosted.
It went the way you thought it was going to go?
100%. Yeah, because they just copy and paste it, and you can't do that. Like, you cannot from Sydney or Melbourne. Like, it's, as I say, like Western Melbourne, might get a little bit of frost. But it's not like what we get.
So tell me about this frost that I've heard you talk about.
So we focus so much on the bottom number. So we focus so much on, say, -2 or -5 or -10. So we focus on that absolute number. But that doesn't tell the whole story about frost. Right. Frost is about the length of time below zero.
Okay.
Say, I know Western Sydney better. They'll get -1 or -2. But that'll only be from between, say, 5:30 in the morning to 7 a.m. So when we had our 3 nights in a row of below -7 in Canberra, and there are multiple factors around this.
Sure.
Basically from about 5:30 onwards, it was already at zero, and it just got colder the whole night. And then it didn't warm up. It didn't get above zero until after 9 a.m. in the morning. Some of the shady places stay cold all day. And then already, because it's already cold, by 5 o'clock the next night, because it's still and cold, boom, it's already below zero. So all of a sudden you've got this long time below zero.
Yeah.
And it just eats away at the plants. And if they haven't had a chance to harden either, which was also a problem this year, they basically just explode. So the stems essentially they just freeze because they don't have any antifreeze in them yet, or they're not hardy enough for the climate, and boom, they just freeze.
Wow.
So you can have quite large plants, just the base of them just freezes apart.
Wow.
Because some plants will be happy at -7, but only once and only a quick short burst.
Right.
And the other thing too is we've got to remember that with the weather, that -7 that you see recorded is in a Stevenson screen that's 1.2 metres off the ground. So, and it's very specific where it is. Ground temperature can be 3 or 4 degrees colder as well. So if it says -7 on the official site, they'll often, if you go deep in, it'll say grass temperature.
Yeah, okay.
Which will be a lot colder.
And so that's where the plants are. So that's what we need to be looking at rather than the high number. Okay.
So not only do I talk about so we've got your macroclimate, your microclimate. Here we talk about the nanoclimate.
Nanoclimate.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So it's really interesting. So, a boulder, the north side of the boulder will be different to the south side of the boulder because the north side of the boulder will capture sun.
Mm-hmm.
So you can grow a plant that you can't grow on the south side of that. It'll only be 40 centimetres apart.
Yeah.
But because it's on the south side, it gets no sun.
Yeah.
It gets the cold on it. It doesn't get any radiant heat. Those little things can make a big difference.
Yeah.
Water tanks make a huge difference.
Okay.
So having a full water tank in winter, I've managed to grow a few plants out. I've managed to get a clivia through. I've tried so many places. I've managed to get a clivia through winter here.
Okay, and that's not normal.
No. That's like completely like they go to mush. I can show you some of my agapanthus that don't exist anymore. They're herbaceous.
Okay.
And they're not supposed to be herbaceous. These are not herbaceous agapanthus, but they're down in a very cold hole, and they're completely mush. They'll come back. They're fine.
Okay.
But I went, oh, that's fine. They can go away in winter. That doesn't bother me. But yeah, that's the differences. So that's what cold holes will do. But it's the depth of cold that you get. Then also it depends how much moisture you've got. So the drier the plant, the wetter the plant. So that'll all change things as well. So all of us in Canberra, Bathurst, Orange, anyone in the central tablelands or central highlands of Victoria, so anyone from Kyneton, Trentham, Myrtleford, they all understand cold.
Yeah, they get it.
Anyone north of the divide or on the divide, they understand. So they understand that depth. But Sydney, Melbourne, they just I look and I just laugh and I'm like, oh my God, you've got that growing? No, you're not. On our recent trip with my daughter through to Adelaide, I'm going, they're like, oh, it gets really cold. I said, your citrus trees are out in the open full of fruit. It doesn't get that. It gets cold, it feels cold because it's windy, it's overcast. So to us it feels cold, but to the plant, they're in heaven, because it's not really that. The other thing too is to think about, especially north of the divide or on the divide, is our big daytime changes. So we can go from -3 to 21. So that's a big, and
in
then
24 hours or less. 12, yeah.
So within 8 or 9 hours we can go. So I had a frost on Monday, so -3. So it's done a little bit of damage. And today's beautiful. It's windy. It's probably 21, 22. But within the same day we can have a huge change. But also in summer we can go from 38 degrees, and by the next day it's 18.
Oh, wow.
So huge, which is great because we open the house up, it cools right down and we go. So really, really big diurnal ranges. So once you start getting away from the coast, you start to get, so anyone on the tablelands, we all understand this. We all know we're so adept at finding those little nanoclimates.
Yeah.
We're all finding those type of things.
I'm just sitting here listening. You just have so much knowledge about everything, not just the plant, but just climate, environment, bush. Where do you find information that you don't know? Who do you find inspiring? Who do you go to when you have a plant question?
Well, Instagram's been fantastic for that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's been absolutely brilliant because there's so much knowledge on there as well. And the way that it's like any tool, the way you use it, the way and it's really interesting because say someone like Annie, as an example, I learned so much off her because she asks such incredible deep questions. And so I learn off that by going, oh, okay. And then I just think in my mind. I learn about the weather because I'm a skier.
Oh, okay.
So you just got really deep into the weather because it's just, okay, what's the weather doing? What's it doing? Okay, we can go skiing now or whatever. And I'm a rock climber and a canyoner. So obviously with canyoning, you had to go, okay, what's the weather doing? Is it going to be a thunderstorm? Are we going to die today? Okay, no, it's raining too much. No, we're not going to go canyoning today because we don't want to die. And the weather is all around us, constantly, every day you're affected by what the sun's doing, what the wind's doing. So you're just affected by it every single day. But I guess where we are, we're affected by it a little bit more. And so I've just been watching it out my whole life. Yeah. So it's just what's the weather doing today? Looks out the window, looks at the clouds. Okay, the weather's doing this. Because it can tell you everything. You look at the cloud, it'll tell you exactly what's happening. You can look in just when you look at the clouds, you look at the wind, you look at the sun, you look at all these different things. It can tell you so much about what's happening. And again, it's observation and it's time. And so much, as I said before, so much has been disconnected from that observation. And I am so lucky that I had mum and dad who brought that observation with them.
Yeah, okay.
You know, because they're the original Google.
Yeah, okay.
You know, so before we had, then we had Encyclopedia Britannica, which they say so hard for, you know, because that was it. That was the resource. And it was them.
And just through lived experience, isn't it? And community, other people sharing stories and sharing wisdom.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's really interesting. Like when I talk to anyone who's new to Australia or you know, we all want the same thing. Like it's very rare that I found anyone who doesn't want shelter, protection, you know, their mind stimulated by a group or a community or something like that. And Stephen Wells, when I went to his talk last February, he puts it so well because some people are really great communicators. I just waffle. I just talk manure.
You're doing great.
And so we forget that we're mammals. We forget that we are mammals. We are mammals. We've got the ability to work together. We've got fantastic language, but we are mammals. So we need that mammal stuff. We need that community. We need that hierarchy. We need that that cooperation. Because if we don't cooperate, we just don't work. And so, so in a garden, you know, we cooperate together, we work together, we bring different skills together. So hence with my clients. And I learned, as I said, I learned so much off them. They go, no, I'm not. No, you are amazing. Like, because some of them have got 20, 30 years on me or more.
Right.
And you go, wow, like 40 years extra information in your mind of what you've seen.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing. Like I love listening to what they've done and what they've seen. One of my customers, she's like, I shouldn't have planted it there. And I said, it's a massive blue spruce now. Like it is huge. Like, and it's just like, I said, no, you lucked out because it's not on the north side. It's on the south side of the house. So it doesn't shade you. It only shades the road, so it doesn't shade the neighbour. So dumb luck played a great role here. And I said, I'm chaining myself to this tree if it, like, because it's not going. Like it's so beautiful. It's so old. It's so like, you know, because obviously the house will probably get demolished, but thankfully the tree will be protected because it's such an amazing, beautiful tree. And it's dumb luck things like that I learned so much of, you know, just go, let's just have a go. Let's just plant it there. Let's just do it. Like let's just not overthink it because they never did because they didn't have the internet. They didn't have an overload of information. Yeah. They had each other. So they had other friends, you know, or occasionally they had one book. You know, I remember Mum had the Reader's Digest and that had the information and stuff that she needed. And that was it. They had the one book on gardening. And then I think we got the Alan Searle's book. And that was it. That's all they had. That's all they had.
It sounds like you're like a big sponge and you just absorb information from everyone and then you can connect the dots. And
I remember one thing, I think it was Dick Smith who said it, and he said, it doesn't matter how many of the same shops are on that street. If you are the best or you provide the best service, the best product, you will be the most successful. And so I can't remember how old I was, but I know I heard something like that a long, long time ago. So what I did for my entire life is I basically became a remorer and just stuck myself to the side of what I thought was the smartest person in the room. You know, the person who wanted to give their experience because life is just experiences. And so I just think of all the people that I've like gone through who are just so, their minds are so incredible and I could just take everything off them. So, you know, my first job in Canberra, you know, I remember working with Anne and her knowledge of, because I didn't know Canberra and I just sucked everything out of her. But we're happy to give it because she's a bit older than me and just like, boom, 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 just like the next person. And now I'm at that stage where I can give all of that experience to other people. That's why I personally prefer the word experience over expert. And because often people get scared. And I was listening to Chloe Foster and it was really interesting because from a trade point of view, horticultural names, fantastic, because that's what we do. We learn another language. We learn a plant language. And that's our part. That's our sort of little thing. It's like our trade thing and we can talk to. Yeah. But when I have clients and other things, and they're like, I said, you don't have to learn the botanical names because you're overthinking it because you don't know the botanical names and you're thinking you're not good enough to do. Don't worry yourself about it. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like I will know the botanical names so I get exactly the right plant. If you're not sure what it is, I'll find out. We'll get the right plant because obviously you don't want to plant the wrong eucalypt.
Yeah.
That's really important. You don't want a 30-metre grow eucalypt when you want a mallow eucalypt. Like it's really, really, that's really important. Like we'd say crepe myrtles, you can get ones that only grow 2.5 metres, ones that grow 7 metres. Like that's important. But from an amateur garden perspective, they worry that they don't know. And then they analyse everything and then they just don't have a go at it.
Oh, I can so attest to that. I've been, having a look at Latin names and it can be overwhelming and then, some people it rolls off the tip of their tongue. But like you said, because they're saying it and they're working it and it becomes their language. When I was nursing, we knew drug names, we knew all the body part, the proper terms, and it rolls off the tip of your tongue because you're speaking it every day, and I can easily flip into medical language if I'm at the doctor's and, shows that you have an understanding. But I remember as a nurse, if you talk in that way to a patient, it can be actually overwhelming and puts them in a position where they feel like they're not at an equal level with you because, can come across as like the expert and then the patient. But when you're trying to empower someone, you want to meet them where they're at. And that's what it sounds like you do. Yeah. You meet your clients where they're at. We don't want to
be condescending.
No, that's the word I'm looking for, condescending. Yeah. So it's a balance, isn't it? Because, we're learning to love Latin names, or I'm learning to love them. But what is the goal of what we're trying to do if you're trying to encourage someone to start gardening but they're finding it overwhelming so that stops them having a go? Let's just take it back a step, don't we? And we that's a lavender. And then next step down the track, they'll be like, oh, well, there's English and then there's French. And then we can go down the track. Yeah, anyway. Yeah. So I really, I understand that, being overwhelmed with the Latin names. But seeing the value, if you're a plant buyer and someone's paying you to put the right plant in, well, then you've got to know them, don't you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like, so there is a thing. It's just, it's like you need to know. Yeah, you need to know which, as I said, which eucalypt you're getting. Like, do I want Passiflora? Do I want Gregsoniana? Which acacia? Am I going to get Acacia cardiophylla, or am I going to get, I want Acacia pravissima, not Acacia cultriformis? They're very, very similar, but they're different. So you kind of need to know which one is which.
Yeah.
And I remember this from one of my TAFE teachers. He said, because when we did TAFE, we had to spell them correctly as well.
Oh, wow.
Everything had to be spelt correctly.
You couldn't just go to Google I do and then copy and paste and put them in.
All had to be spelt correctly. And what was really interesting is I remember him saying, he says, me personally, I don't mind if you get 1 or 2 letters wrong when you spell something. So long as you bring me a Belia cross grandiflora, that's what I want. If you've spelt it, if you've forgotten the X but you've got the right plant, I'm okay with that. So just remember that when you're working in the real world. And then what I also really love is getting to know my customers, is getting to know what they did, what their experiences were, what they were. And it's just fascinating, because you go into their whole world and then you take an interest in what they've done. And then you take that out and you go, oh, okay, that's why, one of them was in the military. Oh, that's why he loves his hedges so perfectly done. That makes sense. Why we have spirals, why we have clouds, why everything is just as it is. That makes complete sense, because when military people fold up their socks, army people, like it just is.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm not that, but I can do what he wants or what they envisage for their garden, and that's completely fine. And it's so awesome learning what they've done. I have another one. He was a submariner, but he was an engineer.
Okay.
So, and he was on submarines and warboats for a very, very long time, but he was an engineer.
Yeah.
So he knows, so he's got an engineer's brain, and it's really interesting just bringing him back into the natural world. I said, we can't construct a plant. We can't weld it. We can't tap it. We can't put a bolt on it. It has to grow, and we just have to be patient. And so that's what I teach a lot of, because obviously I find out he's an engineer. Perfect. Engineers, when you're on a submarine, it has to all B, absolutely, because otherwise you die.
Yeah.
When I said with plants, we don't die. Or if we trim something off, we start and it's just like getting to realise the organic nature of it or things like that. Like, it's just when I worked in retail nurseries, someone would come in and they'd bring a leaf in and go, what's wrong with my plant? And they go, and I said, well, how much of the plant, is this? Oh, it's only this leaf. I said, problem solved. Beautiful. Done. You've picked the leaf off. It's okay. Like, look at my face. There's spots and other stuff on it. It's okay for a plant to have a spot. It's okay to have this. Another great one was I went to a consult earlier this week and they're like, what's wrong with my plant? It's got all these little, I went, I said, I've never seen on a magnolia. I've never seen leaf cutter bees. And she's like, leaf cutter bee? And I said, yeah. I said, it's a native bee. And she's like, and I said, see, it's got these beautiful little scallops out. And she's like, oh, wow, really? I said, yeah, you've got leaf cutter bees here. And she was so excited because it's perfect little chomp marks. But they're characteristics. She's like, oh, I see. And all of a sudden her world was opened up to leaf cutter bees. So everything's different because it's just like it's not something. And I said, well, that damage there, that's snails. But they said, that's fine. Just don't worry about it. Like they'll have a little nibble and away they go because they love magnolias and they'll have a little nibble and they're fine. And I said, trust me, when you get possums in, then you'll know it. But snails and the leaf cutter bee, that's a win. And she's like, oh, God. She's like, thank you.
Yeah, so much of what you're doing is educating as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
just again, it's so observational. Like I keep coming back to it.
Observations.
It's just watching. Like just constantly just watching.
So learning through watching, which is kind of a bit different to what we're becoming used to because we're going to Google and then generative AI. So we go for the answer. But I love that gardening is showing us that we come from or we are a species that has learnt through millennia, through observation. So that's just so beautiful. Like the curly carrots that Chloe talked about. And I remember when I did the briefing call with you for this podcast and you were telling me how you listen sometimes to the podcast when you're out in the garden and you were yelling at us while you were listening and you apparently have an answer for the curly carrots. Is that right?
So like often carrots just want to grow where they want to grow. But the best thing is to save your own carrot seed. Like that's number one.
Okay.
So you need to let carrots go to flower because they're beautiful in flower. They're fantastic for small insects because the flowers are too small for honeybees. Because European honeybees, they're pretty big, they're buffy, and they take what they want. Whereas these little flowers are great for all your parasitic wasps and so all your other little insects.
Okay. Yeah.
So because some of the parasitic wasps, they're like dust. They're so tiny. But the carrot flowers being an umbel flower, each flower, it looks like a big flower, but each flower is tiny. And so you get all these little beetles and all these other wasps and all these other insects on it. But then you get fresh seed and fresh carrot seed sows germinate so much quicker.
Right.
Yeah. So I can get carrot seed at the right time of year, can germinate within 5 days.
Wow.
Yeah. So once the soil temperature is right and you've got it.
Yep.
But I plant carrot seeds right next to where I've had carrots before.
Okay.
So I don't crop rotate with my carrots. So I just plant them right near where I've had them before because all the soil, all the fungus and everything is right for them. So yeah, all I will do before I plant carrots is I will get a long pitchfork and I will just push the pitchfork into the ground. So just to gently, if it is compacted. If it's not compacted, I don't worry about it.
Okay.
So if it's got compacted, mainly for me and my soil, it'll get compacted when I get a lot of rain. So because of the type of soil I have. Because I don't bring in very much. So everything has to be, I do bring in some things, but virtually everything has to be produced here on the block. So I will make my own worm, which is just gold. I will bring in some mulch and a little bit of compost, but as little as I possibly can. So I try and use the plants to do all of that. So a pitchfork just pushed in, that pushes any rocks and stuff out of the way, and then you get nice straight carrots.
Amazing.
Yeah, so but good. Fresh seed, like fresh that's seed. The key. Okay. And then you've got so much seed that you can just broadcast 1 billion seeds out there so that you'll know that you'll get enough carrots to grow.
So good.
Yeah, and so it's so awesome. So yeah, fresh seed with carrots.
Okay.
Definitely the key.
I'm going to do that this year with the kids.
Yeah, and the flowers are beautiful.
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
But don't go Queen Anne's lace near carrots.
Yeah, because then they will
cross-pollinate. Yep, because Queen Anne's lace is the same as a carrot, just an ornamental one with a wider flower. So just don't do that.
Okay.
So, yeah. So
there's so much we could talk about. Oh, my goodness. But I haven't even got to your sentimental plants yet. Oh, yeah. do you have 3 that we could talk about?
I do.
You've got a million.
Yeah.
Can we reduce it to 3?
We did. And so you did preempt this and you sent me, you asked me this, which is great. And my God, I've chopped and changed so many times. So I do have 3. So my daughter's named Cherry.
Yeah.
So obviously cherry trees are highly sentimental. I love the fruit. We don't get fruit every year because the weather or something mucks them up, but they're such a delicacy. When you have a fresh, fully ripe cherry off the tree, it's just incredible. I actually have her cherry tree through the maples here. As you look out the kitchen window, there is her cherry tree. It only has a handful of blossoms on it at the moment because the parrots came through and they debudded it all. But my wife's placenta is buried 60 centimetres below that cherry tree. So the tree itself is beautiful. I mean, it would be lovely to have the blossoms on it like it could possibly have.
Yeah.
But it's such a lovely shade tree. You know, it's such a beautiful tree. Plus also that particular cherry tree comes from Nara, and Nara is the sister city of Canberra. So there's like a little funny connections there with that.
So beautiful.
So the cherry tree is definitely like, that's like, we just love the cherry tree. And plus we used to come down to Young from Sydney to collect cherries.
Okay.
So that's a very, very early memory of walking the orchards and going, oh my God, I need to live somewhere I can grow my own cherries.
Yeah.
So I would have been like 8.
Oh.
So I knew already I wanted to be in the country. So somewhere where I could grow my own cherry trees.
Yeah,
and
so good.
So many years later I did. Then it's the yellow box, the eucalypts, which are the big ancient trees on the farm, because this is the only block I looked at. So we came in, we drove in, and I saw the yellow box and I looked at the age, I looked how big they were, and I went, I need this to preserve them, to protect them.
Right, okay. How old do you think they are?
Some of them are well over 200 years old.
Wow.
Probably some are approaching 300 years old.
What?
Yeah. So they are, because they're not the fastest growing trees, but they can live for 500 years. And looking at some of the photos of Canberra and some of the old homesteads, and the trees are still there, and they've got photos that are over 100 years old, and the tree is the same size as it was 100 years ago. So because you can't age a yellow box by its rings, because it's not like so drought and winter will affect the growth. So they won't grow evenly every year.
Okay.
So they don't have a shutdown period.
Yeah.
So they grow when conditions are right. So whereas a deciduous tree, boom, it stops. So it stops, it does its thing, and then off it goes again in the spring. So it sets that nice, really nice ring. Yeah, so the yellow box, I'm just like, oh my God, there's no children. All there was ancient yellow box here. So there was no other generation. And I'm like, we're going to lose them if we don't get another generation. And so that was my Bushagen thing, and that's just my love of trees.
Yeah.
And they just, again, that age, there's something so beautiful about them, the way that because you just can't replicate age. You can't do it. Like, just, oh God, I must save these. I must have this so they can have friends around them and be happy and all the rest of it. And then the other one, like I said, there are so many. But the other one, this is just, again, just me being like dumb luck. There's a rose called Wedding Day, and I had no idea. So I got married 19 years ago. We got married in November, end of November. I'm like, what was I thinking? Like, it was just too hot, potentially too hot. But anyway, the Wedding Day rose the following year, I went, oh my God, it flowers on our anniversary.
Oh, that's so cool.
Like it's really like, I went, oh my God, look at our rose, it's flowering. Like, it's just like, I didn't plant it for our wedding. I didn't like none of that. Like, I didn't plant it for our anniversary. I didn't plant it I just loved the white flower and that it's called Wedding Day. And then the following year I just happened to, and so now every year since I've been tracking it. So I can see some years it's just finished at the end when our wedding anniversary is. Some years it's just starting to flower when our wedding anniversary. And then some years it's like bang on, right, it's full flower right in our wedding anniversary. And I find that just so awesome, just because it's a real trigger one, it's called wedding day, one, it's at our wedding anniversary, and two, it just shows exactly, what what had happened, 3 months or 6 months beforehand for why the rose is where it is at that particular point in time. And I just love it. I love that it's called wedding day. I love that it's so hardy. I love how it has ebbs and flows.
A bit like a marriage.
Exactly like a marriage of 19 years or anything. And but it also means that it needs a bit of tending. It needs a bit of tending, like a little bit of tending and a little bit of love, just like any relationship does. It needs that. Every now and again I'll walk past and it'll just grab me and it'll scratch me, but it'll go, I just need this little bit trimmed off me, or I need this. Can you just do this? Because it's also, and you just, and you just tend it. And it's just like, I couldn't believe it. It was so serendipitous when I was like, this is called wedding day. And I was just like, and I didn't even, as I said, it wasn't planted for our wedding. We didn't plan anything for our wedding because we were still building our house. So I didn't plan anything. I didn't think of anything. I just like, oh my God, wow, it's in flower. And I could see it from our bedroom window before everything else had grown. I'm like, what is that white flower down there? I'm like, oh my God.
It's a rose. Oh, that's such a beautiful story.
Yeah. So
I love that.
So yeah, that was a really, as I said, I thought about all the different trees. It was just like, wow, what can I pick? And I just thought.
I love it.
And I kept changing. I thought, no, that can be, because that's a pretty special one.
That is very special.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. That is so good.
Well, that's all right.
It.
I'll share everything.
Yeah, I know.
I overshare.
I know.
So.
Like I said, we could talk and talk and talk, and I'm looking forward to going out and doing a little tour of your garden. But can we do some 5 quick fire questions?
Yes.
That you actually haven't heard about yet, so they're
let's be quick.
Totally spontaneous. First one. If you had a time machine, would you go backwards or forwards in time, and why?
Oh, backwards.
Okay.
Oh, God, just to see Australia 250 years ago, just because all the bush areas that I've gone to, definitely backwards. Definitely just going and seeing, I know just being able to drink out of every single river and stream in Australia and know that I'm not going to get sick, that just as a bushwalker would be absolutely mind-blowing. And just to see the forest giants that we don't have anymore. We still have a handful, but just to go and see, those giant trees that are now no longer in existence. So, I'd have to go back to then. So, and sometimes there are parts of Australia that you can still do that.
Yeah.
You can go back where you go, okay, this feels like nobody's ever been here, which
Tasmania feels a bit like that.
Yeah.
Where else do you reckon?
We'll see the southeast of New South Wales.
Okay.
Definitely there's pockets there. Anywhere where you have to walk and you've got to really hurt yourself to get there. It's really, really special like that. So, and I think that's like anything. Like Dad used to say, he obviously didn't come with it, but he said the harder you work, the luckier you get. So some things, a bit of adversity really makes you appreciate something. And it makes it locks it in your mind. When you've got that adversity, when you've had to actually really work for something, or just not even working for it, but just enjoying and just that hardship, and then just coming out into something that's so beautiful. So that's what I do.
So good. All right. Flowers are often used to represent countries or states, and there's a flower emblem for Canberra, which is the royal bluebell. And sometimes we use flowers to communicate meanings for things like you've just shared, the wedding rose.
Yep.
But what flower would you choose to best represent Attila?
Geez, okay, far out. Probably the donkey orchid.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a local orchid.
Yep.
It's got big ears like me. It can be shy and retiring.
Okay.
You don't know that it's there. It disappears, and it can be one leaf. Then it can be so bright that Cherry and I were driving along and she's like, why are you stopping? And I said, stop, there's a donkey orchid. And we've pulled the car over and she's like, how did you see that? And I said, because my eye's in for the donkey orchid. And I guess I can be a bit of an ass as well at times. So it's just the perfect name. And it's such a beautiful flower. You just go, that is just so stunningly yellow. It's so happy and shiny. And as I said, it could be an ass at times, and that's fine. And it could just be everything.
Okay.
I can be like, look at me. And then don't look at me, don't look at me. Like it's just, I think the donkey orchid.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
That's so good. You did well answering that one. Okay. We talked a bit about Latin names, but I'd love to know, what's your favourite Latin plant name that you just love saying?
Oh, well, there's two.
Okay.
Metasequoia glyptostroboides.
Oh, my God.
So, and then there's one, so with Cherry and I, it's had a name change now, bloody taxonomist, but it's Solenostilum scutelarioides. So,
I'm not even going to try, but they are incredible.
Yeah, so we had this debate. So Solenostilum scutelarioides is coleus. Yeah, so that's a sort of an annual plant, whereas Metasequoia glyptostroboides, that's your deciduous conifer.
Okay.
Yeah, it's such a wonderful name.
Yeah.
And same with Solenostilum. So that means basically sun shield is what that translates into. So coleus is just like, no, Solenostilum.
I know, it's
because
just
sol
like
is
coleus.
sun. So sun, but there's so many, like callistemon is beautiful as well. So, but yeah, they are just my two favourite.
That's the best.
Yeah. So, and cherry lent Solenostilum scutelarioides as well.
That is so good.
So yeah, they're just such cool names.
They are.
Yeah.
That's just made my day.
So I already knew the answer to that one. That was easy.
That's easy.
So because we talk about that, because we nerd out on that.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. All right. What's one word or a sentence to describe how you feel when you're in your garden?
Overwhelmingly content.
So good.
So it was 2 words.
Yeah, well, I said a sentence. It could be a phrase, couldn't it?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Overwhelmingly content. Beautiful.
Yeah. Or so much to do. But it's okay. I've got tomorrow.
Overwhelmingly, and then you just put content to calm yourself down.
Yeah.
So good. All right, last one. One person, alive or dead, that you would love to sit down with and hear their garden stories.
Ferdinand von Mueller.
Oh. Yeah. Why would you love to sit down with them?
So he was the first botanist for the Melbourne Botanic Garden.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and he was all about, because they were removing all the eucalypt trees. So, because he came from Germany, Germany was already at the time managing their forests, like for timber and harvesting. And he's like, what are you doing? Don't just cut it down. Like, you got to protect, like we've got to protect these trees and there. And so to just, like, reading his story is just mind-boggling. Like, he was sending specimens back to Kew Gardens because that's what you did. And they were very cross with him because they're like, you need to come with your specimens and you need to check our collection to see if those specimens are already in the collection. He's like, well, I don't have time to do that. It takes 3 months to get there, 3 months to come back. Can't you just, like, do it? And they're like, no. There's a lot of politics in it.
Okay.
A lot of, like, which is no surprise because him being German, him being forthright, him being going, I want to be efficient, but also, he was a botanist. So he was very different to what the garden wanted to be at the time. So, but he's wanting to protect and stop them from removing these forest giants was just like, when I read that in a book, I was like, that's just amazing. Like, that is just absolutely phenomenal. And then what they did to him once he was at Kew, he basically got sacked. They emptied out his office, locked him out of his office when he came back to the botanic. It's just like, oh my God, like, he was a man who was so far ahead. Like, he was just thinking so far ahead. No, we need to preserve these. These are so important. These are, because Melbourne water is there. And I was just like, oh my God. Like, so we forget about, obviously there were pioneers, or they were doing wheat or sheep or, all these other fruits and all these other things. But he was like, no, we need to protect these trees. We need to save these. Like, these are really important. Like, yes, we need timber, but we need to manage it and we need to look after it. And I'm just like, yep, he sounds like really awesome to I wish I could have, but I suppose other people have done research for me and I can read about him, but it would be really awesome to have actually, like, chat with someone that was that far ahead as far as protecting.
Well, I know from sitting with you today and meeting you in person for the first time, that is so much better than talking over, Instagram or DMs, or that is great. But it's just been such, a joy and an honour to meet you and hear your stories about bush regen and your parents and all the flowers and all the knowledge. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for being just such a special guest and being so willingly to come on and be a guest of the Sentimental Gardener podcast.
Well, no, you're welcome. As I said, anyone who puts their hand up and goes, can someone help me? And I'm like, I think I can. Yeah, I'll give it a go. Like, why not? Like,
people they'll just learn so much. I've learned so much, so I'm hoping that other people are going to learn, even just if it's one thing from your stories today. Thank you, Attila.
Oh, you're welcome.
After we finished recording the episode, Attila gave me a tour around his home garden, or the plant zoo, and he introduced me to all the plants, connected to all the stories and memories of the people who gave him the plants. Oh my goodness, it was such an honour. But it was also a front row seat into observing someone who thinks so differently. Attila doesn't rush to the answer. He asks the question and then he waits. And he lets the question live in him long enough to become an answer. It's slow, but it works. He's built a thriving business. He's got really deep connected relationships with his own family, friends, neighbours and the industry, and he's built a home with his bare hands. He's also built a life where his daughter will inherit not just the land but a way of being. Why? All because he refused to rush. And how? By paying attention and observing. For him, every weed tells a story. That's where it all started. And the weeds weren't the problem, they were information. Instead of pulling them out straight away and going, oh, bloody weeds, he said, what are you here to teach me? Once you learn to read a garden, you learn to read everything. Your work, your relationships, yourself, and the world around you. So if you take one thing from this today, let it be, you don't have to move faster to make a difference. You don't need to have all the answers. You just have to pay attention. So maybe notice one small thing today and really notice it. Not to fix it, just to see it. And then ask, what is this showing me? Because maybe what the world needs right now isn't more tasks done at a faster speed. It's more witnesses. People willing to slow down and stay present and to really see what matters. If you love this conversation, please consider leaving us a review on Apple or Spotify. It really helps other people find these stories. And then come find me on Instagram at _sentimental_gardener. A huge thank you to Hayden Schuler from Berea Gardening for our theme music, and to my wonderful husband and cheerleader Tom Dowding for audio engineering. This is The Sentimental Gardener, produced and edited by me, Cass Dowding. This podcast was recorded on the traditional lands of the Ngunnawal and Walbunji's people. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging.